So just on this slide, our long-term goal of communicating content is basically that learners can become responsible adults, as we can see there by different levels. But enough being said, you can just make a mental note that that is very important. We are preparing kids in our class to become responsible adults that also contributes to civilization or become responsible citizens. So next we're going to have a look at 5 developmental aspects to consider when we think of content. So first of all, we need to consider physical development. So holistic development is very important in education. What sport are you doing to keep fit? Or are you exercising? What kind of food are you eating in order to ensure that you stay focused in the classroom? You can imagine someone who doesn't even have food to eat. How will they be able to concentrate in your classroom? You can imagine if you focus on your tummy that's aching, you won't necessarily be able to take in content. Here we have Bloom's taxonomy again, but at the remembering phase, what can you do to stimulate study skills or techniques to help to memorize on this level? Or you can even think of what can you do again to help learners in your class move from remembering to a more creating stage. Okay, so obviously you're going to go through all of the stages, but in the process in your classroom. Alright, so emotional development, very important as well. Read up on that. And as part of holistic development, you also need to be emotionally stable and balanced. And you can imagine later in life that's also important. So thinking of emotional discharge, so referring to letting some steam go, to release some anger or pressure. You can imagine that all of us, we face pressure even with your studies. How do you discharge some of the emotions or the frustrations of OPV 212, for instance, or just OPV in general? So that's just one principle. Thinking of self-control again, how to rationalize and in a sense regulate yourself in order to stay calm. That's not only you as an educator, but also the kid in the class. How will you help them by means of content to promote these aspects as well? Think of a child who really gets frustrated easily. Okay, so you can imagine if it's unpleasant stimulation or unpleasant, difficult calculation that they're trying to, or answer that they're trying to get in your maths class, how can you help them to work through the frustration? How can you support them? Okay, but read up on frustration tolerance. There's different levels to that, and think of the practical application of these concepts as well. So we can give you a scenario and say, yada, 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 Johnny, yada, yada, yada. And then you need to say, is it frustration tolerance? Is it self-control? What needs to be, or how can you help Johnny as an individual in your classroom one day? Okay, so social development, extremely important, specifically if you think of high school or teenagers. Also think of its other theories, don't worry about that, but role confusion versus identity. It's so important for a teenager to feel that they are accepted and they find their identity with their friends. So this is also something that you can help stimulate in your classroom and even enhance by means of group work, or you can even challenge some of the learners to spend time with other learners, or just basic skills that you need when you interact, good manners, social skills. So keep that in mind as a teacher. We are responsible for the development, holistic development of the individuals. And there's a lot of educators that only focus on, my job is just to give knowledge. And that is not true. Thinking of content, we need to think holistically, and how will I be able to help the kids in my classroom to be responsible and contribute to the community in which they are. So think of the bigger picture. Think that you're actually having an influence on the kids in your class, on their lives for the rest of their lives. Right, if we refer to moral development, this will only happen if our own moral development is on par. So reflect on your own life and reflect as you are a teacher already in your classroom. What things in your life do you still need to work on in order to be a better example to the kids in your class one day, so that you can actually challenge them on things that you have overcome when you are an educator. So yes, we are talking about theory and holistic, yada yada yada, but first look at yourself and look at the things that you can work on to become the best educator that you can be.